grabs level 1 Crook, finds himself a Loki clone, a little bit of a jump scare in there, but that's fine. Power's stolen by the God of Mischief. This time, of course, is going to be in the hands of Whiny, who's copied Terra, grabbed themselves a new Fate of Both Worlds. A disengagement for Ducky into the midst of this, but guess what? The Thor's too far away to join the healing party. Isolated by Naga, now throwing tridents down. In comes the Monstro, or rather Giganto, drawn in by the Horn of Proteus, but good fight away there.
Yeah, Naga gets nice to hold on to that high ground. Has to be careful, though, because he's getting challenged by it still by a Monk, who finds the pick onto the Nemo, and now the Nemo isn't there to pick up on Lugia's approach to get into a position and utilize this God of Thunder. Ducky One's going to try and shut down the Fate of Both Worlds. He was so adept at it yesterday. He's able to do it again today. And this is Ecstatic walking away with all of the eliminations. Surely this is where they pick up B.
So many fates of so many worlds, yet right now, all Kismet falls in favor of Ecstatic. They are getting quite a pace here, moving this convoy towards the end of Clintar. Seems like Noel's in danger.
Yeah, Among's gonna have a Mega Hurricane. Fate will have the regen domain, unless Ecstatic can poke and pressure it out early, as level 1 Crook is a little bit away from that Fate of Both Worlds. Both of these teams, though, very much content to poke. For LG, it's a matter of building support ultimates. For Ecstatic, it's a matter of getting unimpeded distance on that payload before moving into position. And they all tracked perfectly. LG did not have support ultimates up, and they just have to give space.
Oh, strange there, though. The Metallic Bulwark not broken by the remainder of Ecstatic, unprepared to actually help out Among when it came to what could have been a big pick. So Crook manages to hold on to that Fate of Both Worlds. Desperate attempts to try and help out Rajaro here, and trust me, it's going to be joining them there in the peril of the underground up against the Thor. That's going to be a quick copy using the God of Mischief. Whiny, of course, copies over Valuki. Crook's going to answer that Fate for Fate, Dance for Dance, as Rajaro brings forth the Eye of Agamotto. 2 stuns delivered. 1 final blow found, but on the other side, it's Lugia continually mispositioning players, using that bash before being punished by destroying him. That's going to bring Fate back. Oh my goodness, Nuke's going to be able to bring the Thor back in their own right as well. Knuten is
Anything your Hela can do. Apparently, Knuten can do better. A challenger has entered the midst for title of best Hela in EMEA. Goddess of Death won't find anything, except just pushing LG off of even more space to be able to regroup. Stop Ecstatic's momentum as Ducky One forces actually the Goddess of Death out of Sestrad, who goes in incredibly low, gets burnt out of it early, and everyone on the side of Ecstatic this time around capitalize and take the Hela down.
Naga working the margins here, though. Managing to grab a couple of picks here and there. Among and Terra are down. That means the backup here for Ducky is going to be lacking. Has to move into the arms of Loki. A nice headshot off the back of a trident. Here come the icy allies and the Horn of Proteus. Knuten, the victim of that one, mostly alongside Ducky. Yeah, the damage wasn't enough to one-tap the Magneto, but the follow-up's more than enough.
Oh, Naga, so smart. Utilizing the freeze squid, the slow potential of that particular monster to make sure that Ecstatic did not have the mobility to get out of the way of the Horn of Proteus when it came down, since he went setting up to follow through on something like an Eye of Agamotto. And that's going to push Ecstatic back to the drawing board as they have to pick their way through this open space yet again, allowing Sestroid a little bit of an advantage when heading up against Knuten.
All right, your powers are mine, declares Voloki, God of Mischief, going to be popped. And now ready to come forth with the Fate of Both Worlds. Nice attempt at an isolation there onto Knuten. Naga closes the door, uses the Blessing of the Deep. Oh, that's a huge investment here. That might come to have some foreshadowed circumstances later. Ducky with 30 charge, ready to dunk. Gets 2 lunar snows. I've had enough of these K-pop stars, declares Ducky. It's duck season, not rabbit season.
Ducky One, very much a metalcore enjoyer. It appears over that K-pop is now level 1 Crook does still have the Fate of Both Worlds, will be able to still light. Fate's also gone over to the Rocket to get another revive into the hands of LG. It's just a matter of whether or not Ecstatic can close out the fight. And oh, disaster. Someone steps off of the payload that shouldn't have. In LG, that potential defense, that potential turnaround slips out of their fingers.
Both Trust Me and Crook were there. Maybe Crook was running out of time on the ultimate and had to back on off and hope Trust Me was on it, but a little bit too far afield. Maybe was knocked back indeed by Lugia, using these consistent bashes on the shift of the Thor has been critical to mispositioning Vanguards in positions where they do not want, and that's so bad on the Magneto. because he doesn't have mobility to escape that unless he invests like a Meteor M to start floating away and simply, yeah, he floats away in a bubble, dude.
Yeah, canonically, Magneto can, you know.
He could just put metal on the bottom of his boots and just fly
put
wherever
metal
he
on the
likes.
boots and fly. But in Marvel Rivals, he only gets the ability to float gently downwards if you're airborne. But unfortunately, like you said, that doesn't give him any potential against Lugia, who just with those storm surges of the 4 shift, like you said, can misposition anybody. And if he does manage to misposition the Magneto, it burns out one of the most important cooldowns in the duelist matchup and resources that you can give to your teammates, the Bulwark. Because Sastroid has not been getting anywhere near the amount of resources we would typically tend to see being poured into a win condition, and it's just because Ecstatic keep farming them out of LG's unwilling fingers.
Oh, real, bruh?
And I do wonder to what degree LG were comfortable going for this Luna Loki mirror match. Admittedly, some would consider it to be a pretty it's a soft meta at the moment. They probably had some time on it, but it's definitely not the style that we know LG for.
No, Among is going to be back on that storm. Strange wasn't banned out, so LG trying to mitigate that poke phase by just portaling directly past it, but that means that you have to win this first fight, otherwise you are relegated to having to walk through that gauntlet laid down. And unfortunately, Harry, it looks like LG weren't able to find the staying potential. They're being picked apart one by one, so not only do you lose access to the portal and have to go for the poke, you're down a massive amount of time bank as you wait for your members to regroup.
Bro, my Group 1 trick has got some hands on the mag, I'll tell you that. It's been a crazy run for Ducky here, picking up the Magneto. Coming into this, we all expected Ducky to be kind of like that guy on the group, but wow, even being target banned, Homie is popping off.
Yeah, he's been popping. His flexibility, he's been working on it. You really can tell. As Sastroid, unfortunately, just held to term by Knuten currently, who's almost double percentage up to that first Goddess of Death. Among is gonna give everybody the benefit of that damage boost. You can actually see Lugia too getting to utilize the bubble on the fall, which if anyone from LG passes through is gonna slow them down 30%, which allows Ecstatic to just keep the tempo always in their favor, as LG just constantly having to reposition and rotate. And if Hella's rotating, she's not finding the picks necessary until now.
Whiny loses out on the God of Mischief. They are going to be resurrected, mind you, by Newton. Lugia's down as well, but guess what? He's right back, baby. Knuten's going to get yet another one. You just can't get rid of his team. If Knuten is still standing, then the gates of death are just easily avoided. And speaking of easily avoided, the Horn of Proteus just dodged there easily by Knuten, the God of Thunder, leveraged as well, all in onto Fate. That's going to be the Omega Hurricane as well. I'm not sure if that one was completely necessary from Among, and is punished for the audacity of positioning by Trust Me, who started leveraging all of that mechanical skill we know him for to start brawling out on the point.
Now, this should be LG able to take it. Worst comes to the worst, they have an Eye of Agamotto. They have a Goddess of Death. They're able to pick Knuten out late too, which is massive. If the Hela was able to find a pick in a recontest, not only do you have to worry about the Loki being brought back, you also have to worry about Lugia on the fall being brought back. In LG, they understand what could potentially have been available. Meteor M from Ducky 1 could very much have been used to buy space for a recontest. And then stall for Winnie with that God of Fate. So now it is going to be everybody from LG pushing up, making sure that Ecstatic did not get that opportunity because they have a time bank to make up for. It's going to have to start right now, but unfortunately, Ecstatic, they've got the high ground, and they've got a foreign position to punish if LG try and take it away.
Oh, destroyed Newton. They can smell each other here. Nice Soul Trainer into double dink Knuten. There's no cope for that one. That was a raw 1 versus 1. Among actually stuck on the Doctor Strange at the moment. Swapped over to try and get that portal recontest towards the end of A. I do wonder if Among's going to be staying on this. Unlikely, considering the success Storm has seen thus far, as Naga is just shepherded into cover.
One thing to note too, that wasn't a Hella 1v1. That was a 2 versus 1 with Knuten actually aided by Winnie. They know the importance of keeping this Hella up, because if Knuten falls, Winnie and Lugia's life gets a lot harder to keep in the balance. Naga's able to take the 4 down, but Knuten, if he finds a simple pick, immediately brings that Vanguard right back up into the mix. So LG have to make sure that Sastroid wins the duel, but he's down, and Knuten is now going to be unleashed.
All right, out comes I think that Fate and Crook may have actually doubled up on their support ultimates here. Not entirely sure. Of course, Crooks is going to be active right now. Should be a damage boost coming in on the Meteor M. Doesn't manage to strike pay dirt right now. It's going to be Terrors that's gone first. Yeah, now Fate is going to be able to pop their own Fate of both worlds. Winey tries to flip away with that devious exchange, but is unable to do it in time. And now, trust me, it's claimed so much space. A brutal front line to try and deal with. Among's returned on the Storm, and Destroyed finally manages to win out one of these Helidors while Lugia stalls out the cart.
That was a big pick too, because Knuten just hit max charge for Goddess of Death, so he would have potentially been able to swing that fight back, or at least make it easier for Ecstatic to stagger themselves back into a recontest, because bringing those players back, it applies even if the Hela finds the pick through the ultimate. There is going to be a recontest attempted. You can see everyone from Ecstatic funneled into that left lane, but potentially there was a portal block, actually. Shenanigans from Rajara, I believe, that make it even harder for Ecstatic to close up the distance. So once those portals run out, LG are still going to have max people on the payload, and they've also got Naga, who's just going to be able to keep that lane in full control. And Ecstatic, because they try to make a play for that recontest, they're going to be losing a lot of ground when we head into the first fight of C.
Never underestimate the value of a mechanically gifted strategist player. Between Saipe and level 1 Crook, we are gifted with many of them here in EMEA, and they consistently turn fights just with the errant headshots here and there.
Naga gonna be making it even harder as well for this disengagement coming from Ecstatic. There's the Goddess of Death, but it's gonna be burnt down. Rajara already in position to float up and block off the Hela's LOS, and Knuten already going to be out of that ultimate form. It's up to Ducky1 with the Meteor M, but he's gonna have to hold on to it just a little bit longer, waiting for level 1 Crook to come and prove the fate of both worlds. He's been able to shut them down previously. Can he find it now? But it's Naga who's coming through with the picks.
Horn of Proteus value goes crazy, and then trust me is the Dunkster on top of that extra damage coming through from the fate of both worlds. And now LG, they're in prime position to finish.
Asteroid gonna be just putting pressure, potentially looking for a pick as everyone from Ecstatic funnel out of the spawn room. Does get spotted out, has to burn the shift to reposition so that he doesn't get caught and run down by a very angry God of Thunder. Regen domain already going to be burned as well. Forces the fate of both worlds from Among, but in the meantime, Winnie's still taken out.
Yeah, Naga managed to grab that pick. It's absolutely huge. Uses the busting of a deep back here. Needs to pick up that health pack, and indeed, at range, there is going to be some snipes going through from Crook when it comes to that healing. Knuten under pressure over here. It's not a fair duel, but still is able to take one down with them. Trust me, grabs Among in the midst of all of this. And now Crook doing their best to just clap on through with the Isarts. And Lugia falling down means that Ecstatic are falling apart at the last hurdle here. The C momentum has just been so brutal. Ecstatic can't even touch in the midst of all of this. Now Fate drags up all that they can, and the remainder of Ecstatic cannot get there. This is a larger time bank for the side of LG.
There is a very real potential, though, that we draw. There's a very real potential that we see a draw, and that neither team is able to take a single bit of cap percentage on this point. It's all going to come down to those initial first picks. Legs, it's all going to be on the duelist. If Sastroid finds a pick, if Knuten finds a pick, it's gonna be up to them. And the team have to build them up for that win condition. They have to put resources behind those Hellas.
Gonna be able to have a peek into our stats real soon to get some more insight into how this one's going down. So Stroy definitely having a much more successful outing on the offensive side than the defensive one. And maybe there's a world where we could see Among try and get some value out of something like the Namor. For now, it seems like Naga has really been able to contribute so much to these Vanguard battles by creating these unfair fights with all the Monstro spawn and the chilling Charisma Squid as well. Here's a look at our stats.
Yeah, 18,000 damage done for Knuten. 16,900 done for Sastroid, however. Meaningful damage, because Sastroid is sitting on 21 eliminations in comparison to Knuten 16. And I mean, LG, they started dialing in as well to that Hela fight. We started seeing when we were looking at Sastro's POV, just onto the right or the left, Naga also participating with those Namor, making sure that the monster spawns are keeping up the pressure onto Knuten so that he doesn't get to utilize any pick that he finds to bring back pretty much almost half of the members from the side of Ecstatic. and just diminish LG's hard work. Portal going to be attempted. It's just, though, to turn LG's head and allow the approach to be a little bit safer, potentially find an angle. Almost actually result in Sestride finding a pick off of the back of the Soul Drain and pulling someone around that corner.
We've seen Terra flex over from Baluna onto the Namor before, and this time instead of Knudsen swapping over, it's Among who's actually gone over onto Baluna themselves to give over that chilling charisma. Having that back pocket Namor, not in the most convenient place, but having it in any direction is, of course, incredibly helpful. Trust me, might be isolated here. Could be knocked around by Lugia, who uses that Awakened rune already. Only 10 seconds remain. Ducky's going to have to place themselves upon the point, but it's taking so much damage. Forced to use the Metallic Bulwark for themselves, for Regeneration Domain as well. Running low already on these resources are ecstatic. They need to explode in the next couple of seconds. A long-range Soul Drain avoided by Newton, and a piercing swords coming in as well. Ducky ready to brawl on out. Trust me, isolated. Big pickup coming through from Lugia, combining with Winnie to make it happen. And these squids are as well putting down a huge amount of damage. Fate just broken by Ducky with the AoE of those magnetic projectiles. Now Terra's feeling that they can make this happen. Comes in with a chilling charisma, headshot into body, and the Horn of Proteus as well is simply a coup de grace on top of all of this. The damage boost is perfect. Getting rid of Winnie when they were needed most. They were midway through that ultimate. The healing's now starting to fall away, and only one tick's come through. Rajaro moves forward. Oh no, that must actually be Knudsen. Knudsen's come back with the portal in the midst of all of this to reinforce the team. Rajaro might have a touch of trouble coming back in time before this one's actually capped on out, and finally Ecstatic grab it.
That could have been dangerous for Ecstatic, but having Winnie on that Loki, even when LG tried to launch a recontest with the ultimate advantage that they had, knowing there were no support ults to bail Ecstatic out when we headed into overtime. Regeneration Domain from Loki, 26-second cooldown, no ultimate necessary. And everybody from the side of Ecstatic, all those key members, are able to live. Ducky won. Waits a little bit before the elevator is ready to take, before putting himself up onto high ground. Getting to keep pressuring LG. The more they keep LG pressured up into these spaces, the more distance that payload picks up, even though Ecstatic had so little time to begin with. Huge Eye of Agamotto paves the way for Sestoid's Goddess of Death to take absolutely everybody on the side of Ecstatic to the realm of hell. And that's exactly where Sestoid reigns supreme.
What a fight to manufacture there for LG, just popping up with the instant Eye of Agamotto. Where was the scouting from Ecstatic? Surely they heard the approach right there, and there was nothing that could be done to stop this. So I figured that Ducky might use the Meteor M perhaps to get some CC immunity and absorb all the incoming damage towards those stunned players, but Rajaro and Sistroid together, they just activated their 100 stealth. They were completely unnoticed.
They rolled the nat 20, and unfortunately Ecstatic rolled a critical failure. The one. As we now head into what could be still winnable, right? Because there was so little time available for both of those teams. And Ecstatic, though they did fall, they were still able to pick up the entirety of A and a good chunk of B.
Incredibly winnable. And a tie seemingly off the cards. Terra going to be returning on the Namor once more. It's a lot to deal with those squids. A lot of homework for an attacking team to have to try and do before they can really get onto the point proper.
No, I mean, you saw it from the defensive side. When LG, we were looking at Sestroid's POV up on that left side, but Naga with the Namor and both of those monster spawns was just holding court on the low right, setting up a constant crossfire. And when you have the Strange, when you have the Magneto, you're constantly having to pivot both of those shields. But for Ecstatic, you have to remember, they're not running double shield, they're running the brawl kind of composition too, very hybrid style. So there's only one direction that the Magneto shield can face, which puts even more value into the amount of crossfire that Sestroid and your Naga Namor can put up. So it is going to be a portal coming on through so that Rajaro can get everybody right the way past, but that is a huge opening pick.
Yeah, Knudsen knows exactly where to put those knives, finding Naga early. I wonder if that portal is actually going to close. That could manufacture a Naga flank here. Already Ducky drawn down to a point. Remember, there's not going to be a second portal here for Rajaro or any of the team members of LG. No more burst mobility.
Well, Ducky won. He was drawn to the point, which is exactly what LG wanted to have him, but immediately is able to break away into that space. Nagano coming back in on this off angle, gets to play from main, and with the Namor having 0 fall-off damage on his primary, takes the Luna down. That's a massive pick. That's a huge hit in terms of sustainability that's available to the side of the defense, and they're going to answer it by getting aggressive and hoping to out-tempo LG instead.
Unreal opening, and Destroy's exactly where he wants to be.
Clutch.
They bought this space for Destroyed, and Bro's getting some real good use out of it. Trust me, falling low. That's going to be a copy coming through as well. The goddess of, well, the trickster god here, that's going to force Fate to answer it now. Both copying the Luna, access to the Fate of both course. It's going to give enough time for multiple members to come on back. Destroyed is isolated, nowhere near the damage that could come on through. Knutson taken down by Rajaro. That is absolutely critical because now no resurrections can come through off the back of this. Going to be a raid contest coming through though from the side of Ducky. Swapped over onto the Doctor Strange among super low, down again, unable to get access to that all-important ultimate. A point capped here for LG.
LG have the snowball potential too. Quite literally, level 1 Crook is going to have the Lunar Fate of both worlds. Naga is moving up aggressively to build that poke to hit the Horn of Proteus so they can have the win condition. If Rajaro's Eye of Agamotto hits, the Wombo combo is in the cards for LG.
Wombo combo.
And they should be able to take Symbiotic Surface.
Oh, Naga might actually drop down here on Knutson. Knutson is right below them right now with that Goddess of Death ready to go. It could be the same again. Destroyed, forced to use the Goddess of Death already. Actually was surprised by Knutson on one of these angles. Rajaro moving forward, trying to claim the space. That's going to be a big Eye of Agamotto. Having to retreat right now to try and save Winnie, but it cannot be done. Up above, trust me, built up to maximum damage off the back of the Meteor M. And surely that's going to be curtains for ecstatic luminosity. Explode in the final seconds.
What a play from LG. They had so many ultimates available. But you can see the experience that they had. They didn't put all of their eggs into the basket of a Wombo combo, right? We get to follow along Naga's POV just a little bit before we head into the actual fight, where that Namor is up on that high ground, potentially going to be contesting things like Knutson on that Hela if he does decide to drop down. But you get to see Rajaro goes in deep into the backline of Ecstatic with an Eye of Agamotto at the same time as Naga pops off on an entirely different angle. And LG just gets to take so much estate away from the members of Ecstatic because the payload had pushed to Final Fight territory. So Ecstatic had to always have one person, the team core, around that payload. Otherwise, one of the players from LG would just push it into the finish line, just the way we'd seen previously when we played the first round of this map. And they were able to take just so many angles, so much space, and even if Ecstatic were able to deal with one thing, right? Even if they were able to block the Eye of Agamotto, their head would have been turned into having to deal with the threat coming up on that different angle, and resources would have been drained away from where the fight actually mattered, the front line, that payload. So LG, they were hedging their bets, and it paid off bank.
I wouldn't mind seeing this ban phase go through again, but maybe leaving the Star-Lord on the table and getting rid of a Doctor Strange, because that's where Rajaro seems to be incredibly comfortable and often making the difference with his Eyes of Agamotto, or at least the threat of that Eye of Agamotto being something that needs to be continually managed. I'm sure you're going to see plenty of them in these highlights. Enjoy.
Who's up next? Red light. Green light. Hey, bro, chill. His name is John Cena.
His name is John Cena.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
think so? You think so, Dave?
Wait, where'd the audio go? Oh, it's just like a commercial. Get what for free?
No, it's for ticketing. I need about 32 tickets.
For what?
For the gun.
Human Torch in the house, yo! You don't look so hot! Boom goes the meteor! No applause?
When does this next match start?
Dodge this! I'm the brightest in the sky! Supernova! Firestorm! Flame on!
I did?
So, like
1 minute.
Benjamin J. Grimm, reporting for duty. Go easy. Coming through. Let's rumble. I'll cover you. That's gonna bruise. Let's go, Logan. Ready to throw down. It's clobbering time! Booyah!
And that one perception check brings a premature end to Ecstatic's offensive push on the symbiotic surface of Clintar, allowing a 5-man Eye of Agamotto to come through from Rojaro. That is uncanny and cannot be allowed to happen again, Moms.
No, the spy check needs to be out in full. I get like overtime, very high pressure situation. You don't want to step off of cart. Comms are always going to be like, who is staying on Cuckers in overtime? Even if people are on the cart, it still gets shorter and shorter and shorter. Like that wick continues to burn and burn and burn and burn. So it really is imperative that you have sorted the baton pass of those positions. But like you said, they were able to win the fight previously. They had all of the setup to position in anticipation of the recontest. And it didn't happen. Rajara was able to absolutely land a stunner of ultimate, as we now head to Ecstatic's map choice, which is, no surprises, Spider Islands. It feels like this map is very much that immediate turn to for a lot of these teams when they're one map down.
Yeah, it seems like it's often an emergency stopgap. I'm sure that there are a lot of high ground compositions which can be really prevalent here on first point, and then moving into a flatter zone. On second wave, it's that constant thread of environmental eliminations from something like a push. We're going to be heading straight into our ban phase here, and I was fairly happy with what Ecstatic brought to the table in the ban phase previously, getting rid of that Venom threat where they're less keen on playing it, protecting the Loki. They're going to get rid of the Wolverine this time around on the side of LG, which is a little bit interesting. I don't know if Ecstatic play a huge amount of Wolverine. Maybe previously.
Ecstatic, more than happy to take the Venom out of the table, just as the way we saw on Symbiotic Surface. They're going to be going for the protection of the Groot, which is a very interesting pick, because normally Lugia likes to go for the Thing on this map of Spider Islands. Hella protection comes now from LG, as they themselves have said. They're a two-composition kind of team. They might, like you said, go for the ban of that Loki, so that if Knudsen does pick up the Hela, it's not going to have the same revive impact that we saw on the map prior. Though I wouldn't expect to see the 4 come through from Lugia on this map, so it would just be one potential revive. But yeah, there it is. Loki has been taken off of the table.
Maybe there's a world where you take away Naga's Namor here, as it is a... Oh, what? I'm surprised that they keep taking away the Star-Lord. Considering that while Namor is in the pool here, it has to be Terra who goes over to it, which is a very inefficient swap for Ecstatic, as they have to move multiple members around in order to access the power of the Namor. However, Ducky is now on the character where they are the most comfortable. We talked about Ducky as kind of that guy on the Groot, and I don't think that it's going to be easy for Trust Me to match this.
No, Ducky One is known as a Groot. In fact, when he played in the previous tournaments, if you matched up against him, you would always ban the Groot out. He's since been working on his flexibility with some absolutely amazing Magneto players over the last couple of days. But you can always tell just like that comfort pick of a Vanguard where they are just so in tune with that particular hero. And you're going to see it in the amount of speed and ease that he's able to construct those walls and just box away a lot of the space that LG wants to be able to access. We're also more than likely going to be seeing a very close and aggressive hold, as Peps have popularized it. It burns a lot of time off of the bank.
Also worth noting that Storm is still available as well, in case Among feels the need to move over to that. If we see a move away from the Namor, which will of course necessitate a pair of swaps at once. On board with Among at the moment is going to be an exchange of walls, of course, here between Ducky and Trust Me. I'd be very impressed if Trust Me can keep pace with Ducky here, but that would be a big turnaround in terms of how we look at LG as a roster.
Now with Loki off of the table too, the strategic lineup is going to be the Luna aided by the Invisible Woman, so we're going to be seeing a lot of the shields go through to protecting the Hela to be able to win that 1v1. Rajara on the Strange is able to immediately lift off over that bridge and take away a lot of the space off the close hold Ecstatic were attempting, and that frees up Trust Me to just brute force bulldoze directly through that front line. And look at the amount of space that the defense is giving up, just stepping backwards. Space that is immediately going to be claimed and staked on up by the Namor on the off angle on the right staircase.
The patented Nargank right there, putting down a pair of squids, hitting a quick right click, and then it's just so easy afterwards. You enrage those squids, get their berserk mode going, and very difficult to try and stand up to that. Winnie has popped up the invisible boundary, but it feels like the personnel just aren't here for Ecstatic, and they're dropping like flies in front of Narg. I can't believe they were willing to try and match Namor versus Namor.
Ancestroid too is getting that angle up on that high rooftop on the left side, and everyone from Ecstatic is having to just pick their way through the damage, the threat that Naga is providing. They don't have the time to be able to check the Hela, so even if Ancestroid didn't have access to the Guardian Shield, which is a 300 health bar in addition to everything that the Hela has, there's just no one taking the Hela down. You either fall prey to the Nemo or you fall prey to the Hela. The off-angle setup was just too hard for Ecstatic to be able to break, and they've lost all control of this high ground too. With LG being able to win it in such a dominant fashion, they're already in position to kickstart this next fight.
I mean, this was with Winnie investing that ultimate as well. Nothing has been used by LG. They've got a full bank here to try and carry forward this momentum. It's kind of brutal at the moment for Ecstatic, not looking amazing at all. Big expulsion of dark energy into the midst of LG. That's going to be a strangling prison coming on through. Horn of Proteus delivered in good time. No damage boost coming through, of course, because Naga's too high up to be receiving it. Lugia's going to strike back, and now the counter coming through in the form of a strangling prison from Ducky. Does grab Rajaro, but Destroyed's been able to escape this, utilizing the Goddess of Death to rain down these crows from atop. And in the end, it's going to be a significant investment for LG, but one that works out.
I mean, no one clears the high ground. Normally, when the defense is setting up for that first fight on B, that entire building is broken and fully ruptured so that things like your Namor can't just flank all the way around that high ground push and drop down, assassinate your backline. But Ecstatic don't manage to pull that particular terrain destruction off, and Destroyed now is going all the way onto another off angle and getting to pull off pick after pick after pick, entirely uncontested.
I retract my previous concerns about the Trust Me group. Omi's looking good on it. There's no other way to put it. Has now been able to move up towards their second strangling prison as well. It feels at the moment like Destroyed is meeting the same tempo that Newton did last time. Newton always was able to control where these fights were happening when it came to those Hellas. But this time, Destroyed is just playing full alpha with the help of level 1 Crook. Getting that barrier is able to win out most of these battles as well. Newton's had to swap over onto a Winter Soldier.
Yeah, which means that Destroyed doesn't have to worry about winning that particular matchup before he can go ham and look for the squishies. Strangling Prison is able to land before Winnie hits the invisible boundary. And LG are still finding the picks, even with the supports investing those ultimates. It feels like ever since we headed from that first map to the second, we're seeing a different side of Ecstatic. They're so out of sync. The ultimates not being invested at the right time. The confidence that they have in being able to hold their ground and take these 1v1s is entirely absent.
Team comms disabled potentially in the midst of all of this. Lugia dreams of a big Meteor M here. It would be incredible to turn it around for Ecstatic, and we desperately need it. There are still 3 to deal with. Newton going to be the main victim of that incoming Eye of Agamotto, but here we're looking over at Terra getting crushed underneath the biomass of Giganto. Oh, Newton going to try and turn this around. Desperately wants Naga. Naga wins that one! No, Newton, it can't happen like this! Everything's gone wrong for Ecstatic. Luminosity Gaming, unperturbed, unbothered, moisturized, and in their lane, and it's the fast lane to a completion. That is a time bank and a half.
Ecstatic needed a hero, and unfortunately they weren't able to hold any part of Spider Islands to find it. What a time bank setup. And I mean, LG, like piranhas, they smelled blood in the water. This is a very experienced team, comes from a lot of different esports teams. So they can spot out those moments where these teams are doubting themselves. In fact, they themselves have confessed that they're able to do just that. And Ecstatic, you could tell something was different. Ever since we saw that aggressive spawn hold attempt just broken by Rogero, throwing themselves literally into the mix with the levitation cape from the Doctor Strange, everything fell apart from Ecstatic. They were never able to find any stalling point, any holding ground. The ultimates they came on through were always in LG's favor. They always had domino impacts into the fights prior to it. And just like base level things that we see being ticked off that the defense has to do on Spider Islands were not done. Something went down for Ecstatic's team, and it's shown in the stats.
Oh, Newton. 2.7k. Bro's getting bullied. There's no other way to put it. Like 1 and 6. It's been just constantly harried by Destroyed. I'm so surprised that we didn't see something like a Doctor Strange ban. I need to talk to Ecstatic and figure out what the deal with the ban on what the ban on Star-Lord is about. Destroyed picks up Among early. You didn't need me to tell you that. We've all seen this massacre. Out comes another right click. Berserks squids. There's so much to deal with. What are you gonna do?
You're not gonna get the name up, that's for sure. There's the pressure, but there's the blessing of the deep that guarantees that Naga is able to live the aggression that comes out against him, and LG will continue to be able to hold. As you can see, the amount of resources going out onto Sastroid. Not only does he have the Invisible Woman next to him, he's also got the Lunar Snow next to him. So when Ducky 1 tries to get aggressive and take the Hella down, he's taken down instead. And unfortunately, it looks like Ecstatic might be seeing the insides of their spawn just a little bit longer.
Well, Ecstatic have prescribed this slow style by protecting the group. And unfortunately, that means that you have no quick way of getting on top of Sastroid, allowing him to just throw out knife after knife from range. Rajara, and trust me, isolated for about a moment with a lashing wall coming out. Trust me, already has the strangling prison. Gonna go for the ramp, in onto the squishies. That's a bunch of them found. And in comes even more reinforcement. Is that a doubling up of a support ultimate? No, in fact, it's actually gonna be level 1 Crook from the other side, making sure that these Vanguards aren't in too much danger as Terra brings out their own, especially Whiny now, who's come up with even more. No! Both of the strategist ultimates are up at once,
Brutal.
and yet they still fall to Luminosity Gaming. This is a routing of Ecstatic.
I mean, it was Rogero again. Eye of Agamotto. Support ultimates might have been up, but Naga gets to just immediately fish in a
bullying that
barrel,
dude.
have more movement than what was afforded to Ecstatic to escape the berserk state of those monsters. Among might be the key to letting Ecstatic move a meter forward, but Sastroid just dodges out of it. They tried to take the Hella down with a Mega Hurricane, and Sastroid just goes into Goddess of Death mode and is above the top of the clouds, so can't be targeted.
Panic Bone was still there. Investment here of a strangling prison from Trust Me doesn't get too much, but Destroyed finds Newton on the off angle and easily manages to take down the interloper in the back lines. Lugia catching knife after knife. The metallic bullock. Oh, hello. That's Winnie.
Do you?
Unable to really get too much on Destroyed. Might well have actually been distracted with other matters. As
This
they
hell is
took
on
that
another
corner
level.
and then found themselves hostage in towards the back. Lugia avoids the Soul Drainer CC, but can't avoid much more than that as the metallic bulwark just times out. Look at the aggression here from LG. I don't know if they've even lost anyone yet, despite a couple of full out rotations coming through from the side of Ecstatic.
That's
I'd
right,
be
still
so
has
upset
this
if I was
vantage
Ecstatic.
point of that right side high ground. Okay, this time around, Ecstatic going to be trying a different route. They know that they're safe from the potential force physics knockdown, given the fact that
But they
level 1
went for the
Crook
high
is
ground?
joined at
Oh,
the hip
no.
of Sastroid,
What's up,
but
bro?
they're not safe from Rajaro getting to fly up there and just stop Ecstatic's rotation, allowing Sastroid to throw in those knives on the
This shit
Hella.
bullying
Trust
these
me, he's
folk.
building a ramp. He's DIY building himself into Ecstatic's entire front line, and Sastroid has still not been fouled.
Dude.
When I go to IKEA so I can get myself a flat pack championship team. Luminosity certainly seem to have delivered on that. You know what? I don't want to see any more banning of Groot from LG. they're looking pretty good at it right here. Those piercing blades going to explode real soon for a touch more damage, and finally a full rotation onto Destroyed. Going to force them off of here. Up to the sky goes Knuten using the Goddess of Death. Good eyes onto Destroyed. Crook tried to respond to it in time, but was a touch too late to save the Hella. So that's going to be a long return. Now this is going to force out the fate of both worlds. It's simple flowchart my Marvel rivals here for the defense, as Among's going to come in and try to find these final hits. Moving over onto Trust Me. That's two stuns coming through from Yara Vegamoto. Newton and Lugia both going to be saved here by Terra with that fate of both worlds. We're in overtime, and we're about to reach just 20 meters of cart progress. Everything else is a demanded perfection from Ecstatic if they're going to finish this one out.
I mean, you have to ask yourself,
Just like
too,
the
do they
real
have
world,
enough
bro.
to finish it out? They've got a Strangling Prison,
Home
a Meteor
Depot.
M, and if they can bulk them fast enough, an Invis Boundary to see themselves through the damage
Blockbuster.
brought on by Sastroid, and an Omega Hurricane by Among. Rajaro as well on that range could potentially be portaling LG into any position. We hear it there. It's
Yeah.
going to be a map flip attempt. It's going to be spotted out. Knuten as well holds himself directly behind it so he doesn't get spotted out. Meteor M comes on out onto the Strangling Prison. Doesn't find any value. It takes down Fate. But Sastroid still dodges out of it with the activation of Goddess of Death. And the win condition is still firmly in the hands of LG.
Oh, Sastroid hitting that mid-air crow onto Among is kind of crazy. Overtime's going to tick on down. Luminosity Gaming on the map pick of Ecstatic, on the preferred Vanguard line of Ecstatic, look dominant and unbothered. Wow, trust me, continually target
was
ban
charging.
on the Venom, gets an MVP
Dude, they
on the
bullied
Magneto.
him. What?
Might well grab themselves an MVP here. It's Crook who actually walks
Oop.
away with it in the end, getting a lot done off of the Mantis and on the Invisible
tournament
Woman
still going?
instead. But boy,
probably
am I
won't watch
excited
all
to
of
see
it, though.
this stat line from LG.
Oh,
The damage is kind of crazy right now. Trust
Might
me,
be a
is
little
so
bit,
far
though. I'm
ahead
not sure
of
how
the
long
rest
it
of the
is.
crowd.
you want to talk
My
about
boy.
ahead, Sastroid and Knuten. Look no further. Ecstatic, I would be very expectant of an insta-Halaban in the next map. Like, no matter how bad you are at countering
Like
the
a
dive,
robot.
if you let Sastroid pick up this hero, he's not gonna let you walk out of spawn to have a composition to try to match up against this team to begin with. Like, he was getting so many resources from his team. You saw the amount of rotations that Ecstatic tried. They tried to go through main, they tried to go through left, they tried to send the entire team core all the way to the right side twice. The first time they were stopped, the second time they were able to pull it off, and finally Sastroid was dislodged from his perch. But if you have to have 6 players huddle up like penguins and walk to a Hella's position, then that Hella needs to be taken off of the cards the next map if you want to have any chance of managing to take this series longer.
Hard agree there, Moxie. Maybe you just leave the group floating in the ether and you just let it fall as it may, because trust me, he seems comfortable in playing it now. Maybe it's not going to get target banned again. We've got plenty of highlights from this map. I'm going to assume it's heavy on LG. Enjoy, LG fans. See you in a sec.
Ooh, there it is. Ooh, there it is. Ooh, there it is. What you doing, Juan?
Whoa, that's
Wah, 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 wah. Wimp winning. He got you a toy, bruh. Bumblebee figure. Bruh. Yeah, 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 yeah. Chill out. Hulk smash. Hulk has gas. Oh.
Dodge this! Supernova!
something like whoa, shirt. Ooh, fuck, shirt.
Torching the house, yo. You don't look so hot. Boom goes the meteor. No applause? Dodge this! I'm the brightest in the sky. Supernova! Firestorm! Flame on!
Benjamin J. Grimm, reporting for duty. Too easy. Coming through. Let's rumble. I'll cover you. That's gonna bruise. Let's go, Logan. Ready to throw down. It's clobbering time! Booyah!
Ecstatic need to lock the heck in, Moxie. And it's never going to be more difficult than right now. In the lower bracket, up against match point 2-0, and after just having your butt spanked on Spider Islands, this is a very dangerous time to be a member of Ecstatic, and this is when you need to put it all on the line.
I mean, the hero bans, in both of our opinions, need to be changed, right? We're gonna be headed to Hell's Heaven, and I want to see them potentially try and take LG on the Venom composition, because if they let the Hela go through, the only duelist is gonna be seeing any whiff of Paradise from what we've seen so far today is going to be Sestroid, because Bro has been hitting headshots. That Hela, mechanically touted as the best on the roll in the region above even Virtus Pro's Phi, has been showing up and batting 10 for 10.
I mean, how do you like, can you deal with the Hela in game? Like, it's proven difficult. We saw like 6 penguins plotting up to try and remove Hela from their purge. It might have to be that you just deal with it in ban phase right here. We saw Wolverine ban actually come through from LG previously. They're going to do the same again. So that Hela is going to be on the table, of course. If it is, oh, they're just banning the Venom
That's a
again.
Venom
So
ban.
we're basically guaranteed to see it. We're going to likely see a Loki protect here.
Yeah. Loki protection comes in through from the sort of Ecstatic, so that if their Hela is able to win the 1v1, they're going to be able to bring winning back into the mix. But there it is, no surprises. LG, very easy in terms of the hero bans to be able to protect. If you insta-ban the Venom against them, they protect the Hela. If you insta-ban the Hela against them, they protect the Venom. It's what they've always done, and it's what's always worked for them.
I wouldn't mind seeing a Thor ban here, actually, considering that Trust Me is very comfortable, seemingly mirroring. Oh, goodbye, Luna. Interesting, considering that Naga plays so much more of the the Namor. And I really am curious. Like, I know this Destroyed is fantastic. Like the Star-Lord, but Destroyed's not going to play Star-Lord when Hela's protected. I don't know what the calculus is. Like, does this team just fall apart in the face of Star-Lord?
There's a potential, like, Star-Lord is very good as a stall unit, and also in Hell's Heaven, he can be incredibly oppressive. If you're not fighting into places like a lot of the terrain with the pillars, right? You look at a Super Soldier Factory, there's always those 4 pillars around the point itself, plus the pillar that raises up and down on the point. There's lots of high ground verticality. that the Starlord is able to take advantage of in terms of those angles, but the Heller is also going to be able to take advantage of that verticality and those angles. So if Ecstatic want to have a good chance of being able to turn this into a reverse sweep, Knuten and his team absolutely need a win first fight, because then you get to dig into the resources that Asteroid have. If you have to play into a retake position against this Asteroid who's already going to be set up and 100% hidden behind group walls and an invisible woman's shield as well, you don't want to have to also scout his position before you walk directly into the first shot.
3, 2, 1.
Crook returning to the Invisible Woman here. We haven't actually seen any Mantis over the course of this matchup. It seems like LG. Oh, we're actually going to see Trust Me opt into the group here as well, which is not going to be matched by Ducky. I like that they left it on the table. That was previously their last ban. And then was a protect coming through from Ecstatic. Being able to leverage how good Trust Me. Oh, no, not again. Not like this.
Yeah, LG portaled up to the high ground so that Asteroid could have the right side angle, which means that when he peeks Knuten gets to see a sliver of hitbox in comparison to what Asteroid is granted access to, and Asteroid now gets to hide behind the Loki copy granted to him by Fate and uses it quite literally as a body shield.
I mean, Ducky and Lugia just having to scramble to protect themselves. Even after the hook, admittedly, Ducky could use that quick bounce from the rocket pack of the rocket raccoon that was gained in spawn to get out of there. Rajara is under a lot of pressure here. Another attempt at a bionic hook. Doesn't seem to have gathered the pay dirt this time around. Newton's going for an angle here onto Destroyed. 2 quick headshots is what they need. Make it 2 body shots in the head. That'll do as well. Destroyed being down is a big opening, but Ducky falling down means that now it's going to be a solo tanking experience for the Vanguard of Lugia, coming in with the anti-street charge, disables the Cloak of Levitation from Rajaro, playing inside the invisible boundary. Big pickup, clobbering time, stuns 3. Fate, Trust Me, and Rajaro all helped out here by Crook, who raises that invisible boundary and is able to put themselves into a good position. Newton caught out by Rajaro, and now Destroyed is going to be unperturbed up on the high ground, just plinking away for free. It's going to be final blow after final blow for the Heller. And it's going to be good control for LG.
Yeah, Ecstatic may not be playing the group, but Lugia very much resembling a cactus of a plant right now with the amount of poke damage that he's taken. If Asteroid is given all of that high ground verticality without having to worry about Knuten. And Knuten is constantly being taken down by the front line from LG. Rajaro on that range, always dive bombing the Heller's position. Among is going to have that Omega Hurricane, and it is not going to be supplemented by Strategist Ultimates. Instead, it's going to be an aggressive play that LG making sure that there's no follow-up to aid Among and catch him once he's out of that ult state.
Rajara's awareness is crazy here. There's going to be a quick resurrection coming through off the back of Knuten managing to find themselves a well-placed elimination. Destroyed still on this though. Rajaro and Trust Me both stunned by the clobbering time, but you can't get rid of Destroyed up in the air. You just do not have the range to deal with this flying terror as a thing. Speaking of terror, they're next to fall. Destroyed able to grab that one. Newton noted on the entry. Headshot delivered. Destroyed is a mechanical demon. What are you going to do when faced with this Heller? I can't believe you let it through again.
Yeah, I mean, LG, they're always so good with the picks and bans. Because, like, they always put the ball into your court. You always determine which matchup you get against this team. And every single time, after time, Ecstatic have opted to take the Heller deal, have removed the Venom from the place that they don't have to worry about the dive. Which I personally don't get, because like if you want to run Lugia on the Thing, that's one of the best ways to counter Venom, because all you do is wait for the Venom to dive bomb in, and then you Yancey Street Charge so that you can get the Earthbound puddle left behind, so the Venom can't swing away from the fight. And then you just blitz him down. But Ecstatic, it feels like they're putting stock into Knuten. We've seen Knuten pop off in the past in matchups. For Ecstatic, he was one of the reasons why they were able to see themselves safely for up against Peps. They're gonna be turning to him yet again. But they have so little time for that turnaround to come through. It's this map or bust. If they don't win this round, they're out of the Marvel Rivals EMEA Invitational.
It could be over right here and now. Rajaro will portal everyone over onto this high ground to get that early poke here. And it is going to be an exchange of high ground fire between Knuten and destroyed once again. The Goddess of Death is ready to go if Knuten needs it as an emergency button, a panic button, mayhaps. And there it is, straight away, popped out by Knuten. It's going to be Rajaro in the way here. We need to see more fire onto the shield of Rajaro. It's not getting any help from the remainder of Ecstatic. And while Ecstatic have got a little bit of progress towards a capture here of the mission area, it might be too little too late. Fate already coming through with the copy, brings up the invisible boundary. I think that one was stolen out from level 1 Crook themselves. Naga, up close and personal, takes out Winnie. All reliable Fate has been the silent carry of LG for so long now. Makes so few mistakes, and Naga's just here to try and find that burst utility, just grabbing everyone out of the air with the Rotterdam.
There's a reason why Fate was one of the only, in fact, the only actual player outside of Suji on the coach who was carried from this roster on the first sighting when they were under the label of Team 1 all the way back in Marvel Rivals Championship Season 0. Like you said, he's always reliable. He's always able to IGL and shot call the team into a good position. And that's an aggressive play. He 100% okayed and greenlit, quite literally, with the Loki. Ecstatic may have taken the Venom away, may have taken quite literally the Dive Vanguard away, but they can't stop Luminosity from turning the fight into a dive regardless.
I mean, why did Terra end up using the invisible boundary there? I have Agamotto, doesn't seem to get too much here. Ducky already afflicted by the Kraken impact, and there we go, Rajaro coming down from the sky. Winnie managed to get the copy off just in time to bring up their own invisible boundary, but when Terra rejoins the fight, that won't be available once again. Rajaro just bullying Ducky out here, and wow, the Dark Maelstrom is too much to deal with. Among gonna try and save this one with the Omega Hurricane. There's not gonna be too much in the way of ways to deal with this. A well-placed Metallic Bulwark, though, protects the disengage from Ecstatic, who are still in control of the point despite all of this. And Lugia managing to pick up level 1 Crook is gonna be massive.
Nothing, man.
Yeah, the storm goes in deep, having to pull LG's focus to peel, then wraps around and rewrites up onto the high ground to receive the protection of Terra's shield. Now LG stuck into this choke are going to be taking a lot of poke. This is where Knuten needs to hold Sastroid, because Sastroid can't go for the ultimate yet. He has to burn the shift if he wants to get into a position to be able to do so. Still see Ecstatic's players, and that gives Knuten the space to finally peek around those corners and grab onto those picks before LG can walk forward. This is where the Hela gets to pay off.
And the damage boost aura really coming in clutch here as well to help Knuten reach those break points between the two dinks. Trust me, noted on the approach. Spore Bomb comes out, and for now it's just poking.
Knuten, off of that poke, was able to build up to a Goddess of Death to match Sastroid. So if both of these Hellas fall low because of pressure coming through from the team, they do have the emergency get out card. And it's actually going to be Knuten. Sees that LG were ready to make a move, forces the Strange out of position, but Lugia didn't have the Meteor M to go for the punishment with the shield's position.
Disengages into that regen domain position. Among trying to burn through this Goddess of Death as quickly as possible. Destroy going to be dragged on down to Terra Firma in record time. Trust me, dragged in by the False Physics as well. Ecstatic seem to have finally got their groove back. The mojo has returned. Naga noted on the approach 100% should be grabbed real quickly after Crook is taken away out of their invisible form. And there we are. It's still on the precipice of elimination, but Ecstatic, they are fighting.
Yeah, I think LG's got
We go to Super Soldier Factory. And this round gets even closer. For LG, no sweat off their brow if they lose this map. For Ecstatic, everything is on the line. And Knuten, he stepped up to the plate. We said that this Hela needed to start coming through with the picks. He started coming through with the picks. A part of it, granted, is that Ecstatic were able to win fights and gain ground, gain space for the Hela so that you weren't having to walk into a retake. Because, like, Hela, she has a lot of options in terms of her cooldowns, right? But those options get denied if you have to burn those cooldowns just to get into a position to be able to see your mirror,
RPG games to play, OG.
And you can see, in terms of the stats, that Ecstatic slowly clawing their way back after such a dominant first round where LG were able to reign supreme.
Yeah, that first round, it felt like Ecstatic still loading into the server. It all comes down to this. A Super Soldier Factory opens up. Rajaro once more will be TPing up into an advantageous position to give this early poke advantage.
Alex, do you have the advantage in terms of the ultimates? We've got both support and aggressive players, and the Among is going to start things off incredibly quickly, getting to help us low enough that Lugia on that Magneto can just poke and pressure and take all of the players of LG down.
Something.
Oh, Ecstatic. Have they doubled up on their supports here? I mean, Crook just is instantly destroyed out of their ultimate, by the way.
I've seen that
is
on Steam. I've never tried
unideal.
it.
The invisible boundary was instantly gone.
Is it
which meant
something
there
like
was nothing
Among
to
Us?
deal with Amongst
Kinda, sorta?
Omega Hurricane. Not sure if it's just an overlay bug right now that Winnie has that active. But yeah, I can see Winnie still as.
Ooh, that was dirty.
Oh, that's a big pull. Oh, Knudsen Trooper's fist from Naga is too much to bear.
Oh, that is unfortunate because that was
Also, it's like Lethal
best bet
Company.
at holding LG to term and just
I
keeping
got
them
that
stuck in
game.
this choke for ultimate batteries start to come back into
I might
the
have to
play.
try it, for
LG
real.
are still taking a lot of damage off of Among on that storm, but they're going to be removed. Fate pops their head past that choke with the help of that regen domain to give all of the confidence. He takes the storm out of the sky, aided by all of that damage pushed on up by his copy still being in play.
That looks okay.
And LG find a very fast
Super
play.
pixelated on the screen.
Accuracy.
Yeah, Lethal
from
Company's
Rajara
fun.
is crazy.
I bet
And
that'd
now
be fun,
Newton
too.
likely to get staggered
It's like a
here.
horror
There's gonna
game
be
of
such
some
a
sort,
feeling
isn't it?
coming through from the Loki. So Newton is going to have enough backup to stay alive here for a moment. Going into a defensive group, though, is super difficult. Trust
Hey,
me, he's going to be able to
is this what you
really
mean by
cook
full
this
screen on the
entangling prison.
TikTok?
There's no off angles that they're
I
getting
couldn't
to take
figure out what
either.
you meant
They're all
forever until
stacking
I just
up onto
figured
this
it
high
out, I
ground.
think.
Knudsen now does get access to that window, but you have to be careful not to lose your Strange off of the wall that Trust Me was able to find, blocking Ducky's position. Strangling Prison sets into play the wheels of motion, and this fight might just be shut down by the Kraken Impact because they left Winnie's copies up so that the
Bucky is
resets could come through.
deadly.
And you can see that Terra just understands you can't give up too much more point percentage to the side of
Be right
LG.
back.
It's a fast reset and into the next fight. Ecstatic go.
You know what? I like that fast reset there. Not giving any other ult farm over to the side of LG. Just losing that one quickly against two major ultimates like the Strangling Prison and the Kraken Impact as well. Rojaro just going to do some early poke here. Watching these Vanguards come in. Once again, it's going to be a battle for the high ground, but the Tainted Voltage is super effective. Look at the wide angle coming through from Newton.
I think it works,
that could
dude.
actually have some
For real.
access to the back line. Has to be careful about an incoming push, potentially, from the side of
couldn't
level
set
one
up
from Chucky
landscape
taking
mode
so much
and
damage.
and the portrait
Rojaro
mode
is
without
actually
a
falling
separate
off for a
camera.
moment. It's going to use
I'm
that close
using
levitation to come back to the fore for the battle. Destroyed under
digital one
pressure.
in
Out comes the
OBS.
regeneration domain. What's Terra doing over here? Destroyed isn't welcoming guests right now. And while there is this exchange of ultimates on the
See,
point,
I think it
seems
works.
like it's all
Yeah, find a
LG
little
right
picture
now.
to put in
And we're
there.
running out of time for Ecstatic to turn this one around.
Yeah. To fill out the
Knudsen knocked out of
landscape
Goddess of
mode.
Death from early. Meanwhile, Destroyed gets to stick the entire ultimate and catch the damage as Knudsen falls out of that ultimate without having Terra there to back him on up. A Mega Hurricane is attempted. Among trying to get the damage to stick
Shut
as the rest of
down,
Ecstatic's
dude.
members pile through the portal. This is their last chance, Harry, and it's falling apart around them.
Oh, Lugia was pushed off the map in the midst of all of this. Yes, Tucky's managed to grab some of this. Nice push! Getting rid of Rojaro's ultimate. That was absolutely critical from Terra. Question is, you have to use the invisible boundary here.
There's
Are you
so
feeling
much
it?
going
Yes,
on
indeed
my
you are.
screen.
Terra says it's now or never. Ecstatic
It
are on the
looks so
brink of elimination. A
pixely.
Strangling Prison now from Trust Me, but I can't even see who's inside it within the
It looks
invisible
okay on
boundaries that have been
stream, I think.
erected right here. Rojaro not yet to fall. Away goes Knudsen. Were they able to escape using the bird? It seems like that's going to be the case. Naga's return in the midst of all of this as well. Coming up towards a Kraken Impact. Newton catching multiple dinks, and the body shot's going to be the way to finish this one off. Out comes a friendly usage of the invisible. No, Ducky's off the map as well. There's no way that Crook has grabbed two environmental frags in the midst of this last fight.
That's dirty.
Unreal performance from the Invisible Woman. How do they do it?
Just under the duress of overtime, to be honest. Like, normally, when you're going to approach that fight, one, you're positioning yourself away from the edge of that right side because you understand that players, they have the push potential, right? Magneto with the full mag cannon of all of those 3 rings. He gets a
Nice.
9-meter knockback if he's able to land the right click onto you. Sue, with her force physics, gets to be able to push you even further distance
Yeah,
if you're
so
mid-jump.
LG1.
But unfortunately for Ecstatic, they're mid-panic when that
Good
fight
deal.
is going down. Like, you have to remember, not only did Among have to go for a Hail Mary of a Hurricane directly through LG, hoping that the additional health bar, that the 450 edition that Storm is granted mid-ultimate, would be enough to keep them standing and
Invisible
spinning
Woman.
while the rest of
Diff.
Ecstatic set Ducky 1's portal up and pile on through.
Oh, he did more than-
That meant that
Yeah,
the fight
diff.
plan and the ult track and the positions and shot calls of everyone in LG's positions were entirely disregarded because all you can do is call players who are low and try and figure out your win condition to figure out who on your team needs to survive. And that was the problem for Ecstatic. They were surviving, they were stalling, but the ultimate charges were so low when the fight began properly that there was nothing for them to survive up to. There was no point where you could go, well, maybe they can turn this around with X, with Y, with Z. They were all out of options, and it was just LG wrapping things up nicely with a bow and a Sue Invisible Woman MVP at the end to tie things off too.
I mean, well deserved.
This team is
Two
Shroud on.
environmental knockouts as well is kind of wild. Like the amount of ult charge you can just get off that as well. Getting rid of Lugia, then getting rid of Darky. You remove so much bulk from the map. We saw great focus as well onto Among during that Omega Hurricane. You get a huge chunk of overhealth the second that you get into that Hurricane, and you're still just a Storm hitbox. But the accuracy was so strong, and great response, I believe, probably Rajaro blocking out a huge amount of damage as well, because the shield can interrupt the damage from the Omega Hurricane onto the remainder of your team. Just so well managed from Luminosity again. It looked incredibly clean in that series.
Yeah, and that is going to cement the rematch that we wanted, well, rather, some of the teams wanted to see. Those fighting words that OG had for LG earlier, well, LG now have the opportunity to potentially answer back with some of their own. It could have been a close series. From map 1, it looked like it might have been a close series, but it feels like Ecstatic, they just took a little bit of a tumble. It took a little bit too long for them to right themselves on that footing, because like we saw heading into Hell's Heaven, first round of that, not close. Second round, entirely different story. And then the third round, it was just push and pull, an absolute seesaw of power with whoever was already in control of that space, just able to have so much advantage moving into the next fight. Rajaro being able to play lane controller and just green light the approaches that LG had in comparison to poor Ecstatic, who had to just pick their way past the Vanguard, pick their way past all of the potential picks coming on through from Sestroid, the longer those wraparounds and rotations took as well. It was almost an impossible challenge, but Ecstatic made it at some points look doable. So I think for the performance that they had, they can hold their heads up high.
I think this is going to be interesting for other teams that are like theory crafting their bans against LG as well. Like, Trust Me is no longer kind of frozen out by a Venom ban. We've seen excellent Trust Me Magneto and excellent Trust Me Groot, which has been they've been considerable assets to LG in areas where we thought maybe there was going to be a significant advantage, going up against Ducky 1, who we thought was kind of him on Groot. Being able to match that perfectly and actually dominate on Spider Islands as well is such a feather in Trust Me's cap in particular for this team. LG are looking real clean, and while OG are definitely going to bring it to them, I'd say momentum's very much on the side of LG right now.
Yeah, especially because, you know, they're going to be coming off of that adrenaline, having a win. And the last time we saw those two teams go head to head, it was LG who were able to come out on top, not just in terms of the maps they picked up, but also the picks and bans that they were able to set into motion. As we're going to be setting into motion a little bit of an interview with one of LG's players. Welcome to the broadcast, Level 1 Crook.
Hello, hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Bob, nice to see you again.
Nice to meet you too.
Congratulations on the win as well.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy we won. It would have been not very nice if we lost the Ecstatic.
No Mantis today? Question mark.
Wait, sorry, what was that? Didn't get it.
No Mantis today?
Oh, no Mantis, yeah. I mean, everyone started perma-banning our Venom, so we can't really play Mantis anymore, unfortunately. Now it's just back to Invisible Woman, Loki, and Luna. It is what it is.
So, were you expecting, because I know both myself and Lex were very surprised that they did keep permabanning that Venom and letting the Hela go through, because, you know, LG, it's if you permaban Venom, Sestroid gets to play Hela, and that can arguably be even stronger. Were you expecting at some point Ecstatic to maybe try out going after the Hela ban and looking at potentially going for the Venom dive?
Yeah, we actually did expect it, but then again, we were ready to take the Venom Mirror. They decided not to. They thought we were really bad at the Groot Mirror. Today, we finally tried it, because we actually have avoided the Groot as much as we could. But now we realize we kind of have to take it, because Groot is just kind of broken, to be honest. So We proved ourselves on that comp, I think, and we gotta make sure we keep it going, keep the run going, so we can beat OG as well.
Yeah, our biggest takeaway from this in particular for you guys as a team was that, like, you guys can play the Groot. What were the comms like when you had you got much scrimming on Groot, or were you, like, you said you were trying to avoid it? Were there any scrim hours on Groot?
No, not really. It's kind of our first time playing it, or like we've played it like once or twice, but we really try to avoid it. Not really believing in the Groot, but obviously everyone's playing it. VP is playing it, and Fnatic, of course, one-tricking it almost. So we had to pick it up eventually, because you can't really ban out the Groot comp if you want to ban the Wolverine as well, which we don't really like playing into.
So we got to speak to OG a little bit earlier because they won their matchup, and they had some fighting words for LG. I'm not sure if you were able to catch it, but it essentially boiled down to it's not going to go down the way that it did previously. Do you have anything to answer back now that we know that there is going to be a rematch as the last match of the day?
Well, I'm for sure looking to not make it like last time. We're gonna look to make it more decisive in our side, because last match was really close, I have to admit. So we're gonna try and crush them. If it's gonna happen, who knows, but we'll give our best.
Speaking of decisive, I was expecting this match to be a little bit closer. How are you guys feeling about Ecstatic coming into this game? Did you expect that there'd be a little bit more, things were going to be closer to how it was on Clintar, or were you very much expecting to be able to roll over them?
No, frankly, we did expect to be better than them, just with sheer mechanics. I think they are not the greatest team in the tournament. No hate towards them, of course. They tried their best and everything, but I think teams like OG will be way more of a match. OG, Fnatic, those are the top 3 teams, with VP included, of course, and they are tough to beat.
None of them oof.
Yeah, without giving anything away, I know your coach Suji tends to be the one to sort of like handle all of the picks and bans. This being a rematch, don't give away, because obviously OG are probably watching this and picking up on the compositions that you all are playing. But are we going to see a different kind of approach come through in terms of that phase and select, given how important it is with all of the compositions that a lot of these teams like to lean into?
Cats watching you play.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what we're banning. Coach Suji's handling that, so even if I wanted to give it away, I couldn't, because I quite frankly don't know. So we'll see what happens.
It's very much just a sort of like you turn up to play and Suji just lists out the heroes like, these are the 2 bans, this is the protection.
Yeah, exactly. And also, we didn't prepare for them yet. We were preparing for Ecstatic, of course, making sure we win this game, because way more important, of course, and now we focus on them. So we let Suji cook, let him cook up some good stuff.
Well,
All right,
thank
we'll
you
let
so
you
much.
get back to the kitchen. Thank you so much for joining us, Level 1 Krug. It's been an absolute pleasure, and congratulations on the win as well. Moxie, that series was, well, both of those series were a lot shorter than I anticipated. I'm going to be seething with jealousy as I watch Ryan Central and Kenobi get through the next 2. I really wish they were closer, but in the end, we've decided who gets 5th and who gets 6th. And now we're into our top 4 teams here in EMEA. Every single matchup from here on out is going to be between some of the best teams in the entire world.
I mean, that LG versus OG, that's going to be the match to watch. But speaking about match to watch, we'll be back with more matches after these shot highlights and break.
Well, it's too late for gummies. I believe you. I believe you. Maybe. I think another round's gonna start. From this tournament. How long is it out? You got me. What's the point of this game? Just to kill the base? 14
People
man.
can't really die. There is that much. I've seen a famous YouTuber.
Oh, really? Really? No, I wonder.
That was small.
Boo.
Crazy.
Alright, wait, no. 13 minutes.